Hey guys, welcome to the party. We are the Weekend Rockstars, your weekly podcast for all the tips, tricks and licks you need for getting started in the music scene. I am Scott Freeman, and as always, it's Billy, just had a haircut, Deadman. Billy, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm feeling very much lighter on the head, actually, because of the haircut. I keep touching it, and it's just a bit weird. Like, it's very... Like, it is, for anyone that doesn't know me, I usually have quite a bit of hair.
Yeah.
And I've now gone down to literally like a grade 3.
Yeah.
It's like a buzz cut.
Yeah, you look like a rugby player or something.
That is it.
Yeah.
But you know what? I've got like quite a bit of facial hair going. It's coming back, the facial hair. So I did have a big COVID lockdown beard.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking about the mustache, right? If I grow out the mustache, and then I get the wax, and I twirl that bad boy up, I could end up looking like one of those strong men, you know, those Victorian strong men. With the obviously I wouldn't be very strong because I'm not particularly strong.
I know you've been doing a lot of running recently.
I would look like one. So there's
Crikey,
that.
Yeah. You look like if you headbutted me, I'd shatter into 1,000 pieces.
I mean, I don't want to test that theory, you know.
Yeah, cool. So this week we've got an entertaining subject. We thought we'd shake things up, and we want to start a new little mini-series inside of the Weekend Rockstars here. This mini-series is called Life on the Road. Road. Yeah. And so we've got a whole bunch of different little mini subjects to talk about within that, but this week we wanted to start off with a pretty light-hearted one, but an important one nonetheless, and this subject is how to eat well on the road. There you go. So that's our topic for this week, and so it's an interesting one because it's not one you think a lot about before you sort of go out on the road for the first time. I know for me, the first time I properly went out on the road with a band away from home for several days, you know, I was thinking about the gigs, I was thinking about the travel, I was thinking about the music. I didn't think about, when am I going to eat breakfast, lunch and dinner? Because you spend most of the time driving, you know. And I was just telling Billy before we started, I think I ate KFC literally every day for 10 days. That's how long our first tour was. It was like 10 days long, and I think I ate KFC every day because you're at service stations, you're at music venues that are opposite KFC, coincidentally. And so a lot of KFC. So by the end of that tour, I just felt like garbage.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I felt terrible. It was just, it was dreadful. And I was like, right, next time I'm not eating KFC every day. Maybe just like half of the days, maybe. So, so Billy, talk to us a little bit about going on tour first, and then tell us about the kind of food you had on your last tour.
Well, my last tour was quite some time ago because my bands at the moment haven't really been on tours. You know, they're still quite small. Essentially, when it came to touring with the band I was in before the two bands I'm in now, Scott's in hysterics for some reason.
I don't know why.
Why are we laughing? Anyway.
I can't wait to do this chapter on the video. Okay.
We're trying not to lose our composure here, people. We're talking about the serious topic of food. So.
Go on. Go on. Sorry for that burst of silliness. Continue.
With most of the tours that I was on, it wasn't like weeks at a time, apart from a couple of them. It was mainly long weekends.
Yeah.
And I would generally, I would prepare for those weekends by buying a bunch of snacks for the road.
Wise. Tour snacks.
Yeah, so obviously you'll be sat in the back of the van and you get pretty bored. And I'm a big snacker anyway, which is unhealthy, I know. And we'll get into like a bit later about habits that you should probably look into, doing better.
Yeah.
Right, but essentially, I was a young 20-something, fresh out of the rock school, as it were. Yeah. And I was, we had Pringles, we had chocolate, we had Haribo, we had the whole lot.
Sounds good.
So I mean, that was keeping us occupied on the road, as it were, and much like yourself. I'm sorry. Having a much like yourself, had a lot of KFC, especially at the service stations.
Okay. Yep.
Alright, so I promise you, audience, we have not taken any substances today. No. Right. We're composed. What are we talking about?
You were talking about snacking and how that's wrong, and it's a bad habit. Yeah. People should break it, especially on the road when you need to get to a gig.
Yes. And I would say a lot of the other times, like, basically, you're talking about your 3 square meals a day, right?
Yes. 3 square meals a day. It's important.
Yep. So we were genuinely. I can't say the word genuinely.
Genuinely.
We wouldn't genuinely. We were generally.
Did you say Jenga?
No, I meant to say generally.
Generally. Okay, generally.
Right. I'm trying to bring us back on track now.
Okay.
Generally, right? We would be staying at Premier Inn. Right?
Yeah. Standard.
Right. So let's just start. Right. We've had the gig the night before. The first night of the tour, right? You go to bed at Premier Inn. You wake up in the morning, and I swear to God, every morning we would wake up in the Premier Inn and we go down to the restaurant area. And they have the option of having the continental breakfast, right? Mm-hmm. The continental breakfast buffet, where you get your cornflakes, you get your Rice Krispies, fruit, yogurt, croissants.
Gotta love a good croissant.
Crumpets, with jam, all of that, right? But I don't even know about the Premier Inn. They also do the Premier breakfast option, which comes with an all-you-can-eat buffet or all-you-can-eat cooked to order. Cooked breakfast. So that's your bacon, your eggs, your sausage, your beans, your mushrooms, your tomatoes, your toast, your fried bread.
Yeah.
Black pudding, if if you're so inclined.
Yeah.
And that's just really dangerous because I love a fry up.
Yeah.
So basically, every day of the tour, we wake up in the Premier Inn. And I'm having this Premier breakfast, all you can eat. Like, it got ridiculous.
Gets gnarly, doesn't it?
It's. I mean, when you're younger as well, you could probably hack eating all this grease, but it does take its toll. So
yeah,
I guess you shouldn't be having Premier breakfast every day. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then so then you go on the road, you go to your next destination, and on the way, you might have some snacks to go on top of that ridiculously sized breakfast.
Yeah.
Then you're going to stop at a service station, which most of them will have a WH Smith's with overpriced sandwiches.
Yes.
Or it will have a McDonald's, a KFC, a Burger King. Those sort of things, the staples of the fast food diet. Some of them may be a bit posher. They may have the Marks and Spencers.
Yeah.
Again, overpriced sandwiches.
Yes.
Or salads.
You get your Costa coffees and your Starbucks as well, don't you?
Usually, I would skip the lunch because I'm already still quite full from the fry up. And then in the evening, you get to the venue, right? And you get there probably around 5 o'clock in the evening. You got to set up. You got to sound check. You could then somehow have got to squeeze in the time to have dinner. Either usually before the set, because after the set you got to go travel somewhere else to the hotel again. Yeah. And this is the trickiest part. This is where you got you want fast food, you want your food to be delivered to you fast because you get back on stage, but you don't really want to have fast food again if you had it for lunch. You know what I mean? So then it became a tricky situation of trying to research where you can eat that's near the venue that's not fast food.
Yeah.
And if they can serve you quick enough. And there was one, I mean, there's plenty of times, to be fair, where we would have like a curry or something, you know, and you'd eat this massive curry. You'd finish the curry. You're totally full. You're very satisfied.
Yeah.
But then you remember, oh, crap, I've got a gig in 5 minutes.
Yeah. Been there.
Dangerous combo. And you learn from these mistakes because, like, you stop doing that eventually. Like, you realise that's not a good idea and you got to cut that out.
Yeah.
And then what you start doing is, instead of doing that, you just buy a sandwich at W.H. Smith's that's overpriced. And then you have that for dinner and it's not very good. Obviously, it's a crap sandwich.
Yeah,
but
that should be the title of this podcast.
Yeah, it's a crap sandwich.
A crap sandwich.
But I found that it would at least, like, you know, fill me up enough for the gig.
Yeah.
So it was almost like the day was reversed. I was having my largest meal in the morning.
Yeah.
And my smallest meal in the evening. Normally, breakfast is your smallest meal, I find. I don't know, usually.
Yeah, I usually skip breakfast. But
I usually do as well, to be fair. So it was kind of this weird situation when I'm on tour where I'm totally inversing my eating habits just to survive, kind of thing.
Yeah. But no, like, I totally, from being on tour as well, I totally empathise with that position. Like, yeah, you'd have those Premier Inn big breakfasts.
Yep.
That kind of thing, or like we'd go to a Greggs at a service station occasionally when, you know, a service station has a Greggs.
For the Americans out there, the Greggs is like a little bakery.
Yeah, it's a grand place.
Yeah.
I had my first Greggs pasty, I think, last week or two weeks ago.
Oh, yeah, because they reopened.
They reopened and it was glorious. Oh, I love a chicken bake. Anyway, so you'd go to Greggs or you'd have your Premier in breakfast, and yeah, you'd fill up a lot in the morning, and that would like prepare you for like a long journey. If you've got, you know, hours to get to a gig, and then in the evening it's usually something light. You know, we'd eat a lot of sandwiches. You know, something like that, and it's strange how that happens. It just you know, you start your eating habits completely kind of are inverted. And I think probably a lot of people do that, you know.
Yeah. The thing is, though, you're still not really eating very healthy.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I don't really remember myself eating healthy at all ever on tour. Like, it must be so difficult to eat healthy. I remember one guy that was in the band, he was definitely dieting.
Yeah.
He was doing quite well with it, in that he was just usually picking up a salad or something like that.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't be doing that. I want to eat something proper, you know. Like, I need my energy, you know. So there was that. But sometimes venues would supply some food, which was more common in Europe.
Yeah.
But
what do they feed you there?
So in Europe, when we toured Europe, we did Europe twice. We did Germany and we did a lot of Holland as well. And unlike the UK, promoters out there do tend to lay on a spread. So you get like usually a table full of sandwiches,
nice,
as part of your rider, but also a hot meal as well, and that could range from anything. It could be a stew that they've home cooked themselves.
They provided you with a stew?
A stew, yeah.
Oh man, I'm so jealous.
One place supplied this mushroom soup, which I thought I wasn't going to enjoy at all.
Yeah.
Turned out to be pretty good. So I found in Europe a lot easier to eat healthier. Because as well as that, right, the difference there is that the service stations don't have McDonald's and Burger Kings.
Do they not?
They don't. They just have these like healthy-ish sandwich bars.
Oh, right.
Like, it's kind of like you get your baguette and you ask them to have the ham in there and the cheese and
like a really healthy version of Subway.
Literally, yeah. Like it's all it's a totally different experience, and also they don't have fry-up breakfasts at the hotels because it's not a thing. They have you're on the continent. You're having continental breakfast. So in Europe, it was way easier to eat slightly healthier.
Yeah.
Because you're getting a nice home cooked meal in the evening, usually at the the venue.
Yeah.
And you're getting much healthier lunches and breakfasts and Yeah, another difference I thought I might just bring up as well, though, is the service stations do make you pay to use the toilet in Europe.
Really?
Yeah.
Which
I don't agree with, because it's supposed to be so they're cleaner.
Yeah.
They weren't cleaner. They're the same as anywhere else.
Yeah.
And you have to like try and find some change and stuff to get in there, and you're busting for a wee. That's not on Europe.
It's a basic human right.
And this is why Britain's leaving the EU.
Yeah. If only Boris had put that along the side of a bus.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, no, that's interesting.
Did you experience any home cooked meals on the road?
No, like we get food tokens occasionally. Like they'll give you, here's a food token. Each band member gets a certain amount of food from that, so you get a burger each, or you'd get some noodles or something. We played a place in Bristol called Mr. Wolf's.
I played there.
You played Mr. Wolf's?
Yeah, you get the noodles.
You got the noodles?
Yeah.
Hey!
They were just the veggie option, I think.
Yeah, just the veggie
option. It was nice,
option.
though.
Yeah. Was it Quentin that put you on?
Yeah.
Yeah, Quentin. Good old Quentin.
Shout out to Quentin.
Yeah. Good man. Really funny. He'd like introduce every band as well. And just every time he talked about the Tokyo Sex Whales, he was just like, he did it with a glazed look in his eye. It's just like, great, I have to talk about the Tokyo Sex Whales. Hilarious dude. But yeah, we get veggie noodles there, and then elsewhere you'd get a discount or you get food tokens. Some places I've been paid in food before. I've been paid in food and beer. I know. I feel ashamed of those early days now, because I'm just like, I should have been paid in money. But instead they just paid me in burgers and beer, and just
nice.
That happens a lot. There's been some fun places where we've eaten. Like there was a place we played in Derby 2 years ago when we were out on the road. We were at this pub and we got there hours early, and they gave me a discount roast because I was playing.
Nice.
And this roast, it was like £5, and the plate was the biggest plate I've ever seen, and I was like, this is no way. Like, I know I got a bit of a discount, but like this should have been like £30. This thing, it's enormous. I definitely, like, a roast on the road goes a long way. But yeah, I spent a lot of time just eating KFC and just eating really, really badly. But I discovered after going out on the road twice and doing that, I was like, when we did a tour back in 2017 for the second album, I was like, right, I'm taking some snacks that are going to last. And so,
nuts.
Yes, literally pistachios. big, like the little side bit of my car.
Oh, yeah.
You're just stuffed with pistachios and Jaffa cakes. And so when I'm just driving along, I'm just like, whoop, slip, and boom, and just... and just necking those, and like that kept me going. In the end, and I felt healthier as we went along. But man, it's so tricky because service stations are, like, at least in the UK, are just designed to just play to your base urges as a human. Because like if you've been on the road traveling for like hours and you get to a service station and all it has is a Burger King, you're just gonna shove it into your mouth because you're just like instant pleasure.
Pretty
yum
much.
yum.
It's dangerous.
It's dangerous. So moral of the story is stay away from service stations on the road. Take your own food, or go tour Europe, as Billy said, because they feed you better.
Do you have any instances from the road where you've had a meal that is like genuinely the best version of that meal? Like, have you ever had like a favorite meal on the road, like one that's like stood out? It might be obviously a fast food, but it's like a something unique to that experience almost.
I played a place in Botley, which is near Southampton, on one time, and it was a funny gig because the guy who booked me, he saw me play a bunch of open mics in Winchester, and so he booked me to play his company's like do. They were having a do in like February March 2018, so a few years ago, and so he put me on. So he was like, I want you to like play outside unplugged, like a busking style, while people were drinking at the bar, and then I want you to play like really chilled when people were having dinner. I was like, okay, none of these are really playing to my strength that much, but okay, we'll go with it. And then he was like, and in between there'll be like a 30-minute gap in between where they'll feed you at the hotel, and this hotel was posh. And so he was just like, they'll make you anything you want. You just like, even if it's not on the menu, just ask them. And I was like, oh wow. And then when I got there, I didn't know what to ask for. I was going to ask for something ludicrous. But
lobster, please.
I was like, yes, I shall have the lobster thermidor. But then I got to the bar and they're like, yes, what would you like? And I was like, fish and chips, please. But best fish and chips I've had in a long time. Like every time I go get fish and chips now, I think of fish and chips at that place. And they had these teeny little things of like tartar sauce, which which were just amazing. So yeah, I was a big fan of that place. How about you?
Well, similar. One thing I was just thinking about actually was how on the road you do get to experience obviously different towns, and through that you're going to experience different foods. Not necessarily like, obviously everyone's had fish and chips, right? But like I have a similar experience where we did a gig in, I think it's in Grimsby.
You played Grimsby?
We played Grimsby at the Yardbirds Club.
Okay.
Right, and just down the road from Grimsby is Cleethorpes.
Okay.
Which is a seaside town.
Yes.
And no word of a lie, I had the best fish and chips I've ever had there.
Okay.
It must have been caught from the ocean that day, I swear. Like, and the thing about it was, we got there, and it was a sit-down restaurant, fish and chips.
Yeah.
And we sat down, and they had run out of the standard size haddock. It was haddock, not cod. And they only had jumbo haddock left. But they said they would do the jumbo haddock for us for the same price of the normal, because they'd run out.
Oh, cool.
So like, sweet. This jumbo haddock was so huge. It was massive. And they cook it in beef dripping. As the like fat that they fry it and whatever.
Wow.
And it was insanely good.
Yeah.
Like, I just couldn't believe how good that was. And that's just one of like many experiences I've had, I guess, on the road where I've had unique culinary dishes to that area. Like in Scotland, I got to do we went to a restaurant there that did the deep fried Mars bar. So I had that for dessert. I mean, this is all very unhealthy again, but it's just
how to eat well on tour.
I think if you're going to go on tour, much like on holiday, try and experience some of the local cuisine.
I mean, when we played Scotland, we played Edinburgh at Bannerman's, which I know you've played as well. And so we drove out of Edinburgh towards Glasgow, but we had a place we were staying that night, and we were trying to find it. We were out in Loch Katrine. I struggled to say that one. Probably butchered it. But yeah, we were out somewhere in that loch, and we were looking for the hotel, and we just couldn't find it. Instead, we found a cafe. We were just like, let's just go in here and ask if anyone knows. And we were supposed to be there asking for directions. We ended up staying there for like 2 hours. Having some food. And like, because I'm part Scottish, shock horror, the name might give it away. But like, I'm very used to like Scottish cuisine, because like my mum's side of the family make it a lot. But the rest of the bands are all from like Winchester, from like pretty like south of England.
Almost as south as south goes.
So like, when they saw like haggis and Scottish sausage for the first time, they were like, what is this sorcery? But yeah, have you ever had Scottish sausage?
I haven't.
Man, not
I need to try it.
Oh man, it's basically a big, like in McDonald's, the McMuffins, you get the circular sausage. It's like a big fat square one.
Right.
That's just.
I've never had haggis either. I need to try that. I was in Scotland. I should have done it then.
There you go.
But similar to that, like when you're in Germany, you get like the bratwurst sausages and all that.
Yes.
Which, you're gonna try these things when you're on tour because you're there. Yeah. And also, going back to the cafe, like, sometimes you just stumble across things. Like, we did a gig at this pub. I can't remember where it was now. It was somewhere in the Midlands. And the pub had its own, like, I don't think it was part of the pub, but it had, like, a pizza van outside.
Okay.
Like, it was a wood-fired, like, pizza oven thing, and they did pizza there. And they did a spicy one, right? And I asked them, like, oh, how spicy? They literally had like a 1 to 9 grade, kind of like a Nando's like grade.
Okay.
I was like, oh,
That's
how
cool.
how spicy is like number 9 then? And they're like, oh, it's pretty spicy. It's like, oh, well, that sounds like it'll do me. I'll have the number 9. Literally the spiciest dish I've ever had.
Wow.
And I was sweating profusely. I was so red. It was like literally a cartoon character. I was crying. Yeah. It was that spicy. Which was quite amusing for my bandmates at the time. I might use that thumbnail. Actually, no, I can't. I already made the thumbnail.
Yeah.
I can't. Sorry, listeners.
But no, I love curry. I love spicy food. I literally, as we've been ordering curry over lockdown, I've been putting. There've been like notes. I was like, please make the vindaloo so spicy it's almost inedible. Thank you, your loyal customer, Scott. And the last time they sent it, it was almost inedible. Wow. So, yeah, there you go.
Pure filth.
That's the way you do it. That's the way you do it. You want a real curry. You don't want any of this korma stuff. Yeah. That's just soup. That's just, who wants that?
Yeah.
But yeah, like Kingston Christmas Market, whenever we play there, or get paid, but then they're like, you can have as much bratwurst as you want and as much like beer as you want as well. So that's pretty good.
That's another thing about on the road. I mean, I know we talked all about food, but just the copious amounts of drinking you end up doing, is also quite dangerous when you think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the most drunk I've ever got was when we were in Belgium. Yeah. And we did the gig, and then I was just drinking all this Duvel beer, which is quite a high percentage. I was just drinking it like normal beer. Yeah. And then we moved on to like a party afterwards, and I was having red wine and spirits and more beer. And I was completely wrecked. Yeah. So wrecked I couldn't even eat breakfast. Like, oh man, the lady served me up some eggs and I almost puked. I had to run back to the I mean, I had already previously been sick before that. So it was not a fun ride home hungover. So my advice to any fleggling rockers out there is don't go as hard as I did, guys. Like, it's fun to party, but my god. Yeah. Don't mix your drinks. Yeah,
but again, it comes into like taking care of your health on the road. Oh, you know, like drinking can be fun. Yeah, you know, but drinking can also be not fun.
Because if you're like, luckily I didn't have a show the next day, but if you got that wrecked and then you had a show the next, I wouldn't have been able to do it. Yeah, I genuinely don't think I'd be able to do it because by the time I got home that next day, I couldn't even eat dinner. Wow, my girlfriend at the time had cooked me a big shepherd's pie. Oh man, and I was like, I can't. Going to sleep. Yeah. So
she must have been so upset.
So that's a cautionary tale there when it comes to your health on the road. Is look after yourself because it is a marathon. Yeah. I guess if you are going to party, do it on the road last night when you haven't got another thing. Yeah. The next day.
What was it? Back in 2017, the tour we did then was, I mean, they've all been disastrous in their own ways, because it's been me booking them. But this one in particular was interesting. We had a guy in the band called Andy. I think you played in a version of the band with Andy. Yeah, Andy was great. And I remember at the beginning, before we went out on the road, I was like, right, so like, you need to make sure on the road, like, you get enough sleep every night because you don't want to be like falling asleep on stage. And you got to make sure that like you eat well because like if you don't, you're going to feel like trash. And again, it's a marathon. You got to keep going with it. And he was like, oh, that's okay. Like I barely sleep and I barely eat. And the thing was about Andy, he always walked around with like this kind of like floppy kind of like blonde hairdo with this kind of like, wild leather jacket. And he was a bit pale at the time. And so it led us to conclude as a band that Andy was secretly a vampire. and we started writing a song about it that we never finished. But yeah, like we got on the road and he took like £5 with him. £5 to last like 4 or 5 nights. I was like, God. How are you going to do that? And he was like, oh, just take me to an Aldi and I'll be fine. And I remember he
might not always get to go to an Aldi.
Yeah, exactly. So I had we were in Leeds, I think, the second day, and he hadn't eaten in like 24 hours. He's like, can we find an Aldi? I really need an Aldi. So I was like, okay. And so we drove out into the sticks to find him an Aldi. We found Andy an Aldi, and he went in and he came out with like like a little miniature loaf of bread, like a big thing of chicken, and like a tin of chutney. And like he was just driving around the country with us the rest of the time, just like dipping, like wrapping chicken in the bread and dipping it into chutney and just eating that. And I was just like, this is the grossest thing. And do you know what the worst thing was? He left that chutney in my car after the end of the tour. It lived there for ages. I just like I hadn't realised, and then one day I found this chutney. I was like, Andy, but he proved to not be a vampire in the end because he liked chutney. Yeah. So please, when you go out on the road, please take more than £5. Even if you're a poor musician, find money somewhere because it's not fun. I've been there though. Back in 2016, I had very little money. The guy who booked the tour, who I was co-touring with, you know, he was like the headline act, and I was like his support and his driver. And he would pay for all the petrol. All the money from the gigs went back in the tank, and like we'd sleep in the car in the evening, and it was just a rough old time. And I just had no money. I had no money. I was begging people to buy my CDs at gigs. I was just like, I need to eat tonight. You know, and just it's not fun on the road when you have no money. It's like going on holiday without any spending money. It's just kind of it's not cool.
No, you got a plan for it.
Yeah.
We'll probably get into the planning side of things in another episode coming soon.
Yeah. But there you go. So I think we've summed a lot of things up here. I think it's important to try and eat well on tour because what you're eating affects your health in general, Exactly. And I think you should always be thinking like that. I know when I was younger, I didn't really care as much about it, but my experiences on tour of just like crashing emotionally, led me to think, maybe it's because I had KFC every night for the last week.
All those chicken hormones. Crikey. Yeah.
So it's important to take care of yourself. Some venues will feed you. If you can get them to feed you well, even better. Just don't let them pay you in food. Make sure you get paid as well, because that's been one of my mistakes. I've walked out 2 burgers heavier, but £20 lighter, because that's what it cost me to get to the gig. So don't do that.
Don't eat massive amounts of food before you play.
Oh, don't do that. It's a mistake.
Big mistake.
Eat lots of curry, especially spicy curry. That's not advice for tour, that's just advice for life. I think that about sums it up. So this has been fun. I have no idea why I burst out laughing early on, so I apologise to people who sat through that and thought he's going to start talking again. I'm gonna wait through the laugh.
That was one of the craziest things I've ever been part of, but I'll take it. It was good.
I'll take it. There you go. That's what happens when you do a podcast about food. There you go. So we have been the Weekend Rockstars. I'm Scott Freeman.
And I'm Billy Debman.
And we'll see you next time. Peace.